I'd like to call the meeting to order, 9:01. Stephanie, do we have a quorum?
We do.
And Gail is online, and then
Mark as well.
Mark is on also. Good.
Yes.
Very good. All right, so start off. You want to do the approvals? All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the unapproved minutes as distributed by Stephanie.
So August 11th, 2025. I second that motion to approve the August 11, 2025 minutes.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. So this is our third quarter board meeting. This is a board meeting. We have several of our owners in the room, and it's always nice to see them, and I appreciate them coming out and supporting. Just to give you a quick rundown, we're going to take care of the board business, and then when the meeting is adjourned, we'll answer any questions you have and all of this. That way, for me, time is very important, and if we can handle the board business and then we adjourn the meeting, so Stephanie doesn't have to keep up with everybody's notes about who said what, then we'll answer the appropriate questions and start it all off. I would like to remind everybody that we have 2 board positions available in January. We would love to have people come in, and obviously y'all are involved because you're here, and we'd love to have a couple of people step up and take up those positions. All right, so starting our board meeting, the president's report. I'm excited. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I know Gail's going to talk a little bit about some things. Mark and Joyce are both going to talk, and Stephanie also. But we've made several changes throughout the year, I think, for the better, whether it's vendor services. We're moving forward a little bit better, and things are getting a little smoother as we move along. Our financial situation is pretty solid. Mark will speak to that in just a few minutes. Very happy that our reserve study, our reserve funds are exceeding expectations at this time. So that's a solid position for us to be in. We were able to, with Joyce's help this year, we were able to get another substantial discount on our insurance. They're working hand in hand with us. Very excited. Anytime we have a question, they're a phone call away, being able to answer questions or point us in the right direction. So that's an exciting thing for me. And as far as the president's report goes, I think I'm good. Gail?
Okay, we're going to talk more about the irrigation system proposal later on in the whole business. But in addition to working on that irrigation proposal, which was quite a lengthy process, we worked with Pleasure Island Landscape, which is the group you've seen around for the last few months. I think they've done a really good job improving the look of the property. They spent probably 3 to 4 months doing a very deep dive analysis into how we could fix our current irrigation system. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, it was determined that it would be much more costly to repair it than it would be to just replace the system. So that is what we're going to be presenting later. The other thing that we have worked on is, as Joel mentioned, we worked at maybe streamlining our vendors and getting a higher quality of vendor. To that end, we've moved our janitorial services over to Triton. So they are responsible for both janitorial and maintenance and the property facilities management. And we've instituted, starting yesterday, quarterly vendor partner update calls with our vendors. We'll be working also with the security folks and then other vendors that we have to just kind of touch base and make sure they understand what our expectations are, where they're doing well, where they need improvement, and then we can hear from them as well. So I think that more formal process kind of puts everybody on notice and on the same page on what we expect and where things are maybe not getting done. So that's what I've been working on the last 6 months probably. That's all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Gale. Mark, you have a treasurer's report?
I do, and there's a lot of changes that are going on the financial side. For the most part, as of now, or as of July, we do have a healthy reserve balance of approximately 1.1 million. We do not have any major capital expenditures that are budgeted before the end of the year. All right. We are over budget on a few costs for this year, in particular our CPA firm. The county was budgeted for about 28,000, and year to date we're already at 30. And we are looking at making sure that that will not continue to escalate for the rest of the year as well as into next year. We're looking into that. Our facilities expenses year to date are about 116,000 versus a budget of 105,000. So we're running slightly over budget there. We do have some room in the budget because there are some areas where we have not spent anything. It gives us some room, but that's about 33,000 right now. Then of course we've seen some increases related to the landscaping and janitorial service. Those are coming a little slightly over budget, but that's just because of the changes in services, and we did save some money on the landscaping between moving to a new company. We're saving about 11,000 annually there. But on the janitorial and maintenance side, there are some slightly higher costs, but that's to be expected with the extra work that's being done with Trident. The most important thing right now is that we are going to be improving the process of providing information to homeowners through a portal. I know a lot of people are frustrated by the lack of transparency in terms of their account information and being able to readily access their information in real time. That will be changing, and that's part of the one of the big items that we have on the agenda for the rest of this year. And that's it.
All right, well, thank you.
I just want to clarify, that was 48,000 for the accounting budget for the year. So if you look at where they are halfway right now, they're just running a little bit over that. So it wasn't 28. 28 is where they're at right now. So 48 is the whole year, if that makes sense. So sometimes you can't hear on technology, so just want to know.
Right. Do you have anything for the
Well,
secretary?
there'll definitely be some significant savings on that.
Mark, do you, as far as the facilities management, do you know why we are over budget? Did they do were they working on a specific project, or, cause was it overtime or anything like that? Cause they're supposed to be fairly, as far as their labor is concerned, it's supposed to be pretty consistent across the board. So do you know if that's supplies or anything, or? Or was that because, is that because the Triton janitorial?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was janitorial.
It's
So,
So
okay, so they haven't moved that to just a janitorial they should be putting that into the janitorial section, right? So we're still over budget, because we had 99.6 for janitorial, and Triton's 151,360.
Yeah.
So that's where you're 51,000 over budget.
Yeah.
Because we changed vendors to get better quality. Like you said, we've got some other places in the budget where we have been way under that kind of absorb that, but sometimes you can't stay with the same vendor that's not getting the expectations of your property handled.
Right.
So
Only we've
That's
discussed that plenty. It's just a matter of how we,
How you
Put the
put it
money in
on
the
this
bucket.
sheet,
Yeah. and
Okay.
that's an opportunity for us to improve.
Yes,
Good
sure.
catch. Anything for you? Yeah, I mean, if you got anything else, I want to make sure we're
I don't,
good.
thank you.
Joyce, you
No.
have, okay. All right, so moving into unfinished business. Last in balcony project, the last assessment is 1/1 of 26. Then we'll be finished with that one. So that's always a pleasurable thing to say. And again, I know we've hashed and rehashed this. It was time. It was something that needed to be done. It was important to get it done. That's one less thing for us to worry about if one of those H's come visit us. So,
I do want to say something regarding that. So if you look at our reserve study, the glass was part of that reserve study. So by not pulling out of reserves, we actually prior boards chose to build our reserves back up because they were taxed out, they were gone. So we chose to build those up and get it to an appropriate amount for our association. And the point of those reserves is to have those for when things like our irrigation system start, instead of having to reassess the owners. Those capital reserves are for the improvements of the association. So that's where we're in a better place because of, strategic information that we've done. And some of these things we've actually handled a little at a time, but you know how it is. If you got a little leak and you deal with it, that one thing versus if you wait till the whole pipe bust, you're going to triage it a little at a time helps with the financial aspect of it.
absolutely. And from our reserves, we've managed to claw back $176,000 that we had budgeted as reserve projects, and in January, it'll all be done and paid for. So that's one of the reasons we're doing so well with our reserves right now, so we're able to capture those back. Yep. Gail?
Irrigation.
Okay, so just a few details on the irrigation project. So, as I mentioned earlier, we had one neat analysis done by Pleasure Island, but prior to that, we had another one done by a previous vendor who basically came up with the same conclusion that our existing system is not repairable. So we started this process saying, if at all possible, let's repair and not replace. And we really hope that could happen, but it is not going to be possible. The total cost for repairing or replacing the system is $165,460. And it'll be a total system replacement. The only thing that we're retaining is the existing well pump in building 2. That is functioning well and does not need any additional work or servicing. So that's the good news. The bad news is we need another well in addition, and that's needed to provide the adequate water supply and pressure. Without it, we would not be able to run an appropriate irrigation system. Also, 4 to 6 new controller clocks, 45 zones, 12 to 16 rotor heads per zone, and 14 to 20 spray and mister heads per zone. Also includes all wiring, plumbing, well drilling, project management, and cleanup. If this is approved, then the timeline for this would be to start it maybe sometime possibly in the middle of October. A lot of that is depending upon the regulatory approvals and getting 811 out to do all of the markings. I will tell you that this proposal comes with a caveat that says, even using 811, it's possible that during the work process, they will find other buried things they were not aware of, and that may cause them to stop work and do repairs intermittently. So what we've done is budgeted into the timeline enough time for that. So if, assuming they start, say, the middle of or late October, we're thinking 8 to 10 weeks after that date is what we're looking at. And again, they're going to provide a weekly update to us on the progress against what their plan is. So hopefully this will go smoothly. We're hoping that this disruption is minimized by doing it during the fall and winter. possibly being finished by late January. The work times are gonna be 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They will need to cut through some asphalt occasionally. When that happens, they will produce alternate signing for alternate routes so people can go around it. And they will repair things as they go to minimize the disruption to the guest traffic and the owner traffic. They will have to cut through some sod, new trenching, and that will all be repaired as they go. They will only do this where there's already sod existing. So if they do a lot of digging in areas where there's not grass, they're obviously not going to put sod down after that. As Joel and Stephanie mentioned and Mark mentioned, we do have money in capital reserves. We're proposing that this is paid for through the capital reserves that we have in place now. Any questions on that?
Gail, when you said it includes project management,
Yes.
is that through Triton?
No, it's through Pleasure Island.
Okay.
They're gonna have someone on site.
Okay, just wanna make sure, because if we ask Triton to oversee this project, they will charge us extra because it's.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm aware of that. That's why I had Anthony include that in his quote.
Perfect, good job.
And also something to think about with those reserves is annually we put about 170,000 in that. So if you're taking 165 out and then in December we put 170 back in, what happens? You're plus 5. So there's that impact. You gain $5,000 in an irrigation system when we get grass and flowers. So
Yes,
there's the
and
summation.
a vast improvement to the value of the property.
All right, Gail. This is your baby. Make the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the irrigation system proposal from Pleasure Island Landscapes for $165,460 from capital reserves.
I'll have a discussion on that, and also there's needing to be a cover for our enclosure for that. That shouldn't cost that much more, just to make sure that we've got room for that as well. So, but I'll second that with that provision.
I'd like to make one more discussion point. Feels like I'm going old school here. This is my third, going on my fourth year on the board. We have kicked this can down the road 4 years. I am glad to see we're moving forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Yes.
Yay, St. Augustine.
All right, so our next old unfinished business is the Anchor Property Management Recovery. Been dealing with this since March of 2023. And I got an email from Craven and Perry yesterday that the insurance carrier for Anchor Management at the time made a firm and final offer in an effort to resolve this case without the need for discovery. Full disclosure, we have chased this rabbit for about $3,000 so far. We said that as a board, we weren't gonna put any more than $5,000 in it to recover $48,000. We're at that threshold. We've had some group session discussions about this. Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, basically, we have been receiving extremely bad legal representation in this matter. Okay? And so this is why we find ourselves in the situation we're in. And secondly, unfortunately, to proceed with discovery with the current firm, who's really doing a horrible job, we're not on a contingency fee arrangement, so we're coming out of pocket. So you can argue we are spending good money after that. And, absent a firm being able to take on a contingency basis, we really don't have much options as far as pursuing this matter. We ended up working with a property management firm that was incompetent and new to the game. And as they say in the legal world, buyer beware. So we're in a difficult situation as far as things as trying to be made whole on this matter. So that's my take on it. And,
What's your suggestion?
Contingency fee representation. Well, without someone who's going to take this on a contingency basis, and given the quality of the legal services we've received to date, which I can tell you from my experience as a lawyer, wouldn't pass muster.
Mark, did you ever get back with Anthony?
It's time to pull the pen.
Sorry.
Hey, Mark, did you ever get back with Anthony? I know I put you guys in a text. You did?
I spoke to him. I did. I had a conversation with him the other day. He sounded eager about taking on the case. He said he had to run into another colleague. I told him to text me his email, so I wanted to send him the contract to review.
Okay.
But I didn't hear back from him. So, but he's definitely somebody who is knowledgeable with the litigation game, and I would give him a chance if he takes on a contingency basis. Absolutely. But I haven't heard back from him, so right now I don't want to proceed with Craven. We're paying out of pocket.
No.
Not a chance.
Okay, so your suggestion right now is we table this discussion until our next meeting, until we get additional information?
So just a reminder now.
Okay.
Is there a deadline to accept the insurance company's offer?
It doesn't have one. The email that was forwarded to everybody last night did not have one of those. It said, let me know so we can move forward with discovery if necessary. So,
You know.
Joel, may I ask a question related to that? The insurance company, typically, whatever insurance company that you have for your E&O can offer representation for cases like that. Have we checked on that? Because I've done that with I'm doing it now with another association, actually. I didn't know, but Daniel Craven told me, hey, you do know State Farm will provide a lawyer for you for this case. So that's what we did, and it saved a lot of money.
So that's if you are so in other words, you're
We just
saying
went through
it's-
discovery, so we haven't even gone to court yet.
Okay.
So, but it
what
was,
you're saying.
yeah, so, I mean,
So you're saying our insurance company would
Yes.
provide us discovery, would provide us with
Representation.
representation. I
Yes.
thought it was only if we were getting sued. think
I
that's
mean,
how
I
it
don't know.
works.
You need to
Yeah,
ask them about
I
that.
thought, but I'll check on that.
all right, so we'll do some additional, we'll table that and move it
And
forward.
Mark, I sent Anthony an email asking where that email was, so I'll follow up with him for you. He's usually pretty
Can
quick.
Alan even call me today? I'm around today. I'd love to talk with him because, I think our options are limited as far as working with us further to represent us. So it's either only option right now. Let me get on the phone with them. Let me send them the contract. We'll tell you this. To me, one of our key claims here is not just breach of contract, it's fraud. Okay, based on the information that we have related to how this contract was entered into. The problem I'm having is the judge may look at it and say, well, hey, you're a buyer beware. You should have done your homework. You should have exercised more due diligence in terms of who you agreed to contract with. And that's on you for not having done your homework before you entered into this contract. That is probably one of the strongest arguments the other side could make if they're trying to refute the fraud claim. But at the end of the day, it's not like we have a big offer sitting on the table right now. If we did want to gamble for $10,000, in my opinion, we're only really gambling $7,000, which, given how much we got to spend to deal with this mess, it's not much. It's a drop in the bucket.
Okay, so we'll move this forward, get some additional information, and then we'll meet again. So Mark, you're back in the hot seat. You want to discuss our accounting proposals?
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a thorn in my side since I started looking into how the accounting and finances for the association were being handled. It's probably just as bad as the legal services we've been getting. And it's time for a change. And part of the process is also making things more accessible to homeowners in terms of being able to see their account, actual statements, make their own payments online, everything you would expect for a properly run association. Unfortunately, that's been lacking for too long, and it's translated into us having poor financial records, including related to our delinquencies, which is a big area of concern for me and something that will be dealt with on a go-forward basis. So we've got proposals from companies that are reputable, experienced, have systems that will be able to provide the association with the type of financial reporting we need, as well as accessibility to homeowners related to their accounts. So we have 3 proposals. We're only looking for accounting at this time, not full-scale property management. And yeah, that's where we're at. We have 3 proposals, and we're at the point now where we need to make a decision on which one to go with, because we do have to get this in place before the end of the year, so we can transition the financials before the start of next year.
Okay, so real quick, just the highlights for Seacrest. The 3 companies we have are Seacrest, Neighborhood, and Associate. Highlights for Seacrest.
So Seacrest is a big firm. They deal with really large-scale properties. They have, in my opinion, one of the best systems out there, both from a homeowner perspective and then from a board, for the board perspective as well. The ability to use their systems for everything from our accounts payable to work order tickets, to having real-time delinquency information at the click of a button. It's something that really stands out as far compared to the other proposals we've received. I have a personal experience with Seacrest. They manage the property that I own. I can tell you they've got a really strong accounting department and a really solid team of people working there. And they're not, a small player. They're a big player, and they've got the resources to handle complex of our magnitude. Plus, and most importantly, of all the options we have, they're the cheapest. And from a budgeting perspective, we would save a lot of money, not just compared to the other proposals, but compared to what we're currently paying to our accounting firm by working with them. So to me, they check off all the boxes. Good price, quality, and a great system that we can rely on. That's gonna really improve how we gather our information.
So while we're on Seacrest, something that we would have to do would be, we would have to change association banks. Is there a cost for that? Like a transfer fee for
No.
the cost of change bank? And then is there a cost, like,
It'd be a wire fee,
that's what I was wondering, if
like
there was a wire fee.
$35 wire fee.
So nothing substantial. And then, also if the accounting firm, Seacrest, some of the other properties we looked at, could handle like our taxes, our filing for the state, because Seacrest is not in the state of Alabama. They do not have any experience in the state of Alabama. The other ones we looked at do, and they are familiar with doing those things. So what, in your professional opinion too, what's the cost of that we're gonna have to pay in addition to? Like, we have to continue to pay, say, we stay with Grant, Sanders, and Taylor. How much is that gonna cost us in addition to? Because that's still part of what's gonna be our annual fee for this part of our budget.
Okay, so just keep in mind, filing statement of information, it's not, it's a very simple process. It's all done online. We do it for clients. My firm, we do it for our clients all the time, whether they're in Delaware, they've done Delaware filings, Florida, California, you name it, we do it. Frankly, I can do it for this page. It's very simple. We don't even charge.
So is that something Seacrest can do and is willing to do? That's what Joyce was saying.
Yeah, they can.
Okay,
They will
okay.
They will do it. They
Okay.
will do it. They'll file payment of information, do all of that stuff. Plus, I will do it myself if need be. So, I've got the resources to take care of that. Here's the thing. We are still gonna need to engage, a firm, to do an audit, to do the tax return. No property management company out there does any of that. That's never included as part of the, package. You engage the independent third party firm that's gonna come in, do the audit, do the taxes.
So even if we went with the other
Any
ones,
when it comes to that?
even if we went with any of the other ones, that we would still have to pay that additional cost.
Mhm.
That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That answered my question.
Yeah, the number one rule when it comes to audit is you can't audit your own work. So that
Perfect.
is gonna be, like, even Grant can't
Right,
do an
yeah.
audit of our books because they're preparing books.
And then the last question I had about Seacrest was there was an annual fee for remote administrative that was added to the proposal. What does that entail? Is that something we're thinking, considering, or not doing right now?
Yeah, not the thing we're doing right now. I have to make some listen, I think we wanted to get a little extra service from you. What could you offer? So you kind of give
Okay.
me something kind of like remote.
Okay, that's fine. So that wouldn't be accounting. That wouldn't be anything we would need to do right now with accounting. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, with the way that their proposal is gonna work, we will have a dedicated manager for our account who's gonna oversee
Right.
everything to do with the financial.
That's why I was making sure that wasn't an additional for someone to make sure that our account was, in check, what you just said. So, thank you.
That's what we're getting. But if we wanted to get an extra person that's gonna do more of a property management function, they're willing to provide that as well, and also down the road, work with some
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
more full-scale property management.
Okay. Thank you for all your efforts on this.
Yes, thank you, Mark.
Based on what we know as a board, do we need to discuss this anymore? Or are we ready to make a decision?
I think we're ready to make a decision.
Mark, this is your baby. Make the motion.
I make the motion to accept the proposal from Seacrest.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mark.
That's nice. to get a-
Question, while we're doing this, while we're on this, Mark, and that's to also make, moving from that. So are you gonna kind of start that transition from, they said 30 days will be our transition period, just so y'all know. So within 30 days, we have to think about the December 1 budget. So that's why this is a push and go kind of situation too. But also, are you gonna go on and get that transition started?
Oh, I'm ready to go right now, and, the thing is, right now, what I'm trying to figure out is what information I need to get from Grant Sanders, the account level, because that's my biggest concern, is how we're gonna transition the accounts over, because the way the grant's doing it, it's already done, so that's the big thing we're gonna be working on.
They
I'm
may
sure
have a
Seacrest can
CS,
help us.
I
yeah.
think Seacrest was very willing to help you out.
Mark, I think it's just a CSV file that they'll import into their system. But you can
Yeah,
ask.
but I want things categorized differently, so
Oh,
there's
yeah.
some big changes I wanna make. in
I
terms of
gotcha.
How they're categorizing certain types of.
That makes sense.
I like janitorial, making sure
I
that
also
doesn't
want
look
to changes to how our reserve accounts are
Right.
being reported, but, you know, I actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break it out based off the reserve study as well. So
That's a
I'm
good
gonna do,
idea.
We're gonna make some really nice changes.
Thanks, Mark.
What he's saying though, basically, is like in our current accounting, what we have now, you're not really able to see that reserve as a clear picture. It's kind of meandered through stuff and you can get it, but I mean, in this day and time, we need to be able to just see that picture, right? That is a separate account. We need to be able to see that. So that transparency and letting y'all be able to see your information on an app, kind of like we used to have with Appfolio, where you can pay your payments and all that things. Where you
Yeah,
can
but-
see that you owe such and such, you know.
So there
Yeah,
will be a
what
portal that
GST
they
is
can go on?
providing
Okay,
us.
Oh, yeah.
that's good.
Yeah,
Can you
GST
pay
is
through the
costing
portal
us
too?
money
Yeah.
because we're having
Oh,
to call in or
gosh.
email in
Yeah.
and say, how much do I owe on this? Well, you know, you may have overpaid on something else and it's been allocated weird and it's just too much. We need a better system. That's what we've been fighting for.
And once we move forward, there will be something, either an email or a letter or something to say step by step, because we have to make it copyright for me.
And Seacrest actually has they have a whole training process on it. It's really cool. Like, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that technology's doing now, where like you can literally go to one little click and it shows you a person going through live everything you would need to know about that system. And like you can do that at your own speed. You can ask them. They have an 888 number that you get to. They actually bragged about their 20-second wait period. So, those are some good things, because we want y'all to have the information
Yeah.
in your hand. And then also Gail.
Yes, absolutely.
And they don't
move
charge us for
forward with
other
irrigation,
calls, which
getting
is
that
nice.
started.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
Yes,
the important
Gail.
thing is your portal and you can pay through it.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wanted to
That's gonna
clean
be
that
a
up
huge
before you
help.
move
yes. All right, so Ms. Stephanie, Joyce, do y'all want to do the ESA discussion, or
on. Yes.
we'll do that discussion?
Do you want me to start it or do you want to start it? Okay, so I know that there's been a lot of questions and concerns and the difference between a service animal and emotional support animal. Obviously, with a service animal, they are allowed on property. And it doesn't matter if you're here for a day, 2 days, 3 days, or you're here for 6 months. We do allow service animals on property. So it was brought to my attention, not only by Michelle next door, but also, so I'm a real estate broker, also by a buyer that I'm working with who is wanting to be in Gulf Shores Plantation. And she has an emotional support animal. And when I told her that we do not allow ESAs, it opened up a big can of worms to the tune where I almost lost this client. Okay, so it wasn't pretty. And so I had to dig further. And I already know the rules as a broker, as far as, when you go to purchase a piece of property, there's FHA rules that apply related to service animals and emotional support animals. So I'm just gonna read to you really quickly and then go over a few things. So under the Fair Housing Act, housing providers, including landlords, property managers, homeowners associations, must provide reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities, which include allowing emotional support animals, even if a property has a no pet policy. Now, what that means is if you are an owner yourself and you have an emotional support animal, as long as you go through and I'll let Stephanie go through that part, but as long as you go through the proper channels within our association of how to get that animal approved, then you can have your emotional support animal at Gulf Shores Plantation. And there's nothing we can say about it because you are the owner yourself. Whether you come in and stay for a day or stay for 6 months, that is your home and you you are still bound by FHA rules. Now, when it comes to your guests, if you rent your property out, if you're renting your property out for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you do not have to allow the emotional support animal into your unit, and the association doesn't have to. The trick comes in when you rent your property for longer than 30 days or more, then that falls under the Fair Housing Act, and you can't deny that guest their emotional support animal. So if you have a snowbird that comes in and has a service animal, obviously they're allowed, but even an emotional support animal. So one of the board members had mentioned, well, what if you did 2 bookings, one for 29 days and one for 28 days or whatever, just to get away from that? And apparently that's happening. That is, I did do some research in that, and that is actually a big fat no-no. Like, you do not do that unless you want to open up yourself to liability and getting sued. That I would not recommend it. I'm not gonna mention anything about like who that was, but I'm just saying, like, you don't want to do that. You do not want these owners who have these emotional support animals or these service animals. They are very sensitive when it comes to these type situations. And your guests who have them are very sensitive to it. And we do live in a litigious country, so you want to know what the rules are, and the rules are very simple. If one guest stays in your unit longer than 30 days, they also have to go through the process of getting it approved with the association, but you cannot deny them their emotional support animal if it is in fact an emotional support animal and they have the proper documentation and they go through our process, and we'll let Stephanie go.
And I
through
will
that.
say, number one, this property is your own. This is your home. If you personally choose that you don't want long-term stays, that is your right as your home. So you can choose. I don't want to do that. I don't want to accept snowbirds. I don't want to do that because it's your property. I don't want to not have access to my property for 30 days. That's different than, oh, I'm going to do a 29-day booking and then I'm going to do another 29-day booking because you really want to stay January to March, but I'm going to do 329 bookings. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference of that. You see what the different heart is, right? So that's that. Since 2016, there has been a policy that's been here, and some animals do apply that. So we're not recreating the wheel. This is something that has been done for service animals. Of course, service animals, we know you can't ask other than the 2 questions, right? So that's something you can't do. But with the ESA, this kind of helps, this documentation helps us a little more. So what it does is it goes through and it shows, the name of the dog, cat, whatever species. Obviously, the FHA does tell us if it's a something that would be taxing to us, like if I had a miniature horse that needed a stable and we don't offer a stable, then that would be taxing to us. And we could deny that ESA based on that's too much for us to take, right? So, I like to teach y'all silly things like that because you're going to remember it, right? And then this too, me professionally for what I do and plus as a board member, each owner has their right, and we never want to discriminate against someone with a disability. So that's an important thing on that too. I just want to say that little tidbit, but it is a cool little thing. Here's the thing about, there are still rules and regulations that go with that. So if you've got an animal that barks or meows or scratches or tears up something or eats furniture, there's a process, right? Okay, that's one violation. And that's where security coming in, when we have these quarterly meetings with security, coming in and making sure, because if you have an animal, they are to be on a leash at all time. There are rules to that. You don't just get to come here and let your dog poop in the memorial garden. And I say that because that's literally what has happened before. That's what we have to be proactive and protect our association about. So I'm going to encourage you as owners, if you see that, that's where we've got to close that loophole, be together, go to security, get it reported, get a citation. That's one violation. We literally have an animal registration list where if you get 1, 2, 3 violations, then boom. That doesn't mean boom for this day. That means you can no longer come back on this property because you have it basically abused your rights, so that animal cannot. But anyway, there's a whole process. It has all the rules. That's something
And
that
that's
we
in the
can
share, that's
we
in the.
can share that in
portfolio.
that folio now as long as the board is okay with that. But that's something I wasn't going to share until we had time to talk about it. Like I said, it's called the service animal policy. It does include that. ESAs have to have mental health professionals. Specifically, it talks about what all has to be on that paperwork. They have to have their vaccinations up to date for an ESA. You can't ask that for a service animal. You have to tell them written permission before, because you can't just bring them in here and do that. So ESAs do not have as much rights as a service animal does. So like I said, but regardless what animal, they've got to be on a leash. They can't make disturbing noises. They can't be left unaccompanied on the balcony. They can't be left in the public area. You can't leave them on the beach and come back and get your favorite drink and go back and say, oh, look, there's my dog. Even if it's on a leash, don't leave the animal by itself. Don't damage the property. I'm just going through the highlights of it. Any kind of aggressiveness reported should be reported to security. If there's any other laws that come up, because laws change all the time, that this covers the association in our documents. If something changes and the law supersedes what our thing says, we obviously have to abide by the law, just like we were telling you about the 29-day. But we bring this to you so you're aware of it, so you're not, knowingly breaking laws. The second we find out about it, if we don't tell it to y'all, then that will be on us, and we don't want any further liabilities for the association. But and it basically has, when you're expected to get there, when you're leaving. Like if you're an owner, something that would be great that you could work with Lynn. That would be something that you would contact Lynn about. But it has that policy out there. It's pretty spelled out. If anytime y'all see anything that doesn't make sense or there's a typo, let me know, because we are all humans, okay? If it says they, that drives me crazy because we've worked hours on it. So seriously, y'all, let us know, because we're approachable and we want to do the best thing for everybody. But
I would encourage y'all to take that documentation, and if you do rent your unit and you have a property manager, make sure that they provide this information to anyone that is bringing an emotional support animal, or just let your property management know, hey, if you have a booking that's more than 30 days or over, please provide them with this information about ESAs, because they can't just bring that emotional support in. We don't want somebody to come to security and say, oh, well, they told us we can have an emotional support animal, and then they have not gone through the process of getting them approved. Technically, that's the question. I mean, is that legal for them to do that? I don't know.
Well, they need to inform us, so security be aware that it's
But is it legal? The question is it legal to go through that process of getting all that documentation and, applying for the ESA?
well, I believe it is, because it's not a true service animal by
Okay,
regulation.
that's fine.
Now, different for the fair housing, you're right. Beach Club for years, they have pets that are allowed for owners only, and for snowbirds. That's been like that for 20-something years.
That's not what we're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah.
What we're talking
Let's
about.
stay on top of it.
Right. But what I'm saying is they
In the
still
weeds.
have to provide some type of form that
And
says
that-
we do have an animal on property.
You have to, basically that process is to register your
Yes,
ESA.
so we know that it's.
It's
It's a pre-approval, okay.
Right.
So I would definitely provide that to your property manager so they have it in the event. And then if you're the property manager, if you're self-managing, then you should, provide that to your snowbirds, and really it's good to have for yourself too.
All right. Good.
That's it. Anything?
Any other discussions on this, okay, moving to new business, it falls right in line with what we just,
One second,
yes, sir?
I have a question on that. Okay. If I wanna, take my animal, my service animal, whatever, on a flight, I have to pay. They charge me to bring my dog on the plane. Are we able to charge? Is the association able to say, look, if you want to bring the dog, guest wants to bring the dog, a homeowner wants to
Different
have the dog on the premises, different charge for that?
different story. Like just like Lynn was saying with approving things, you cannot charge someone that has a disability to bring their animal that they're allowed to bring. Now, if you wanted to do some funding, you could say, hey, we got this cool GSP leash owners that when you have your ESA and your service dog guests that come repeat, you can go to Lynn at gspcondo.com, only she can get it, right? Because we don't want everybody going on Amazon and getting a vest, which vests aren't required. We don't want them having access to the same thing. You could do that as a revenue stream to pay for doggy bags and, you know, the extra costs that might incur with people that don't take care of their animals.
It says you may not demand special registration, certifications, or fees, but you can require reliable documentation from a licensed healthcare provider if the disability is not obvious. You may also ask for this in writing, often called an accommodation request form.
And this is an ESA. You
Yeah.
cannot ask that of a service.
Correct.
So we're having to rely on someone's truth.
And you cannot make tenants register their ESA in a private registry or database. You can't charge pet
We're not
fees deposit.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what Mark was asking, that we charge them again. You know, and sometimes the snowbirds are limited because they can't fly down with their animals unless they pay an extra fee and they're just owned.
Yeah.
But, it's really those extremes that we're talking about, that, you know, an owner that stays, technically longer than 30 days. And then a guest that would stay longer than 30 days. Because
Well,
of
an
that
owner doesn't
federal
have
law.
to stay 30 days. An owner's an owner.
It's their house.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Fair house.
it has to be called a reasonable accommodation request form. So not a registration. We just have to be super careful, Lord have mercy.
Reasonable.
Reasonable accommodation request form.
Request.
I can go ahead and start checking on leashes, you know, for owners to purchase. That would be specific to GSP.
Mm-mm. Most don't do that yet.
Okay.
So you're all good with changing that documentation just to be in line with what it
Yes,
says?
to-
Yeah,
So I would change
update it.
that instead of that, and that's why we don't put it out there in Appalachia yet, because we make sure we get the right information to y'all first.
use ChatGPT to get the form. There's already a bunch already out there.
Anything else on that? All right, I'd like to remind everybody that our fourth quarter Board of Directors meeting will be Saturday, December 6th, here at Gulf Shores Plantation. That will be our budget meeting where we introduce the 2026 budget. And we've already started figuring out what buckets we need for that, but that is our next meeting. We're looking at the 2026 annual meeting. So what we'd like to do is set an October 1 deadline to RSVP so we know the number of people that are going to be in attendance. I love having it here, but my thought has always been if one person doesn't have a seat in the room, then we can't have it here. Our room is for 100 people. If we have 101 people and everybody wanted to be in this room, I feel like you need to be heard, you need to be seen at the annual meeting, because that's when our elections are. But I remind everybody, we have 2 positions on the board.
A couple of
Just-
And
times.
just-
Joyce and I cannot run, we've served our time.
But I would love to have it on site because it's just a different feel. It's really nice to be home and have this meeting. But if we have such a large number, then we'll have to look for another place. And once we get our RSVPs for October 1, then we can decide what we're going to do. Want to remind everybody, we've got a luau tonight starting at 6. Miss Lynn has done a great job putting all this together. And-
Oh, I've had a lot of help.
Well, but, and I was gonna say, the social committee beautification's working this afternoon. If anybody has some time and wants to put some sweat equity in, please come. We have a lot of heavy stuff to do. It doesn't get lighter.
We got that.
We need a motion.
Well, and that's the question, that's a discussion.
I think it's more of a discussion.
Yeah, rules and regulations, we talked about that, so changing that to the GSP reasonable accommodation request form
Yes.
instead of the phase 1 service animal policy.
Okay.
And then, that's one big change in the rules and regulations. The other change in regulations is, and these are concerns y'all brought to us, the east pool, the smaller pool, heated when possible. And I noticed that when possible is a whole nother thing we're not gonna get into right now. You got bigger fish right now. owners and guests of buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4. We spelled that out because we've had other people come into our property. That's something y'all heard, so updating that. And of course, we listened to what y'all said, and any guest above 21 needs to, if from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it's above 21. So that just changing that in our rules and regulations, so it's updated to our current procedures. And also, we have Triton Facilities Management down there that has a number, and that also has an after-hours number. So basically, if you can't call that during the day, typical hours are 7 to 3:30 each day. If you can't get them on that 7790 number, then you're gonna need to call the on-call number. Now, this is for emergencies, AKA water leak, something big. This is not, hey, do you know a plumber because I wanna change out my toilet right now at 11 PM. That's quiet hours, sorry, no, you can't do that. So you see what I'm saying, all rules and regulations. And we have Secure Vision instead of our prior vendor. So those are the big things. And the other thing, we talked about parking for a while, making sure we have your owner's tag in the windshield, guests have their pat thing, only park in designated areas. Trailers should not be parked in our grass that we're about to pay irrigation money for. Do y'all hear my passion in that? Okay, good. I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just trying to say, and that's something we're gonna talk to our security vendor about too. Of course, only 2 parking spaces are allowed per unit. If you bring a trailer, you park that trailer in one parking place and you park your truck within the next parking place. That's your 2. You can't bring 15 vehicles up here. You can't keep things in more than 2 parking places. Do not get in RVs and run them out in the generator in the parking lot. That's been there, but it needs to be said again, it's not that that's hasn't been happening. But if a vehicle is in a non-designated place, contact security. So those are, I want to be transparent with what we're changing because y'all need to know the why. But that's the things we're recommending changing. And I'd like to make a motion that we amend those rules and regulations today.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Yes.
Any other business? Mark, Gail, y'all good?
good,
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the third quarter business meeting. All in favor?
second,
Aye.
Any
yes.
opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank y'all very much.
9:59.
We do have some new owners here.
Well, yay.
What if y'all wanna, like, stop pointing at me?
And we do have the luau tonight. We put that right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
We're
absolutely.
taking questions. Sorry.
Yes.
I got one. So if we're gonna expand this to the ESAs, are we going to make some designated spots to take care of?
Well, we already have them.
And here's the
Do we have
thing,
them on this side?
let's play this.
I mean, I know they don't
We do.
use them, I mean.
I know, we do, but okay, it's a service animal. What is that service animal to do? Be with that individual.
Exactly,
Yeah, let's go take a poop over there, but they can walk wherever they wanna walk.
yeah, right.
See, our old stuff used to say, you can only walk them here.
Yeah.
Well, that's.
Yeah, that's all, I'm
denying
talking
it,
about where
right?
they can go.
Yes,
to.
we have it right over there, and actually, we've had people complain that there's nowhere to sit and do things. So there's a test table we've been doing is beautification, we've been moving all these concrete things have been sitting over there for years. Beautification is doing that. So if you see an owner, Sweat Equity, I know you can't always lift, but just thank them because that would not be possible without our beautification team. So thank you, dudes and dudettes.
I think do we have a map? I think we do, that says where they can leave themselves and all that, like a little doggy area. Yeah, that's what,
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Julie from Building 3. Just first, thank you guys for serving. I know it's a oftentimes thankless job to volunteer, so thank you for all you do for our association. Question about the lighting coming in to the plantation. Is that
Can
something
y'all
that,
repeat the question? I can't.
Yes, ma'am, I sure will.
I just have a question about the lighting coming into the plantation. Is that something that is our association, or is that Kiva Dunes, or the lighting has
On the
been?
street you're talking
Yeah,
about?
the street lighting has
Okay.
been off, so I just wondered.
So Gail, she's asking about the lighting coming in the driveway from Fort Morgan Road into our complex. That's a Kiva thing.
Is it Kiva thing?
Yeah, well, Kiva's responsible, we pay the bills.
Okay.
So it's been
Shared-
reported a couple of times
shared
over the
thing.
summer. It's a shared use thing. So they take the responsibility to get it fixed, and then we all pay a portion of the money that it costs.
I see.
And we have emailed them and reminded them, and y'all have another way other than talking in person, calling them and emailing them, let me know. Chat GPT, getitfixed.com, I don't know, you know, something.
Is it that they're broken? Is that the problem with the lighting, is it's broken?
We don't know, it could be literally a light bulb change, but that is not our lane to go out there and pay our money separately to fix that.
Got it.
We can only report it to the ones that are in charge of that and pay the bill when they ever say it's due.
Okay.
That's our relationship with that, just like the big sign up front. You know, we always say, hey, you know, if they decide to change that, then we're supposed to be allowed to the table because we're gonna be paying for that. So,
It's a complicated island
it is a
out there.
complicated little road there.
It is.
And you notice the ones by Kiva work.
Yeah.
So, just there's that, I'm just not just saying. I'm just pointing out data, I'm only data talking, so facts be facts.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I want to say thank you to you guys for coming to some conclusions and closures on some big ticket items. So thank you all,
Yes.
because those are some big deals.
Are we recording?
Yes.
We are, we are.
Yes, that was just awesome.
AI is generating what
You
you
guys
said,
are
and I will go
telling
back and confirm.
Just
It's
kudos.
been a battle over several boards, and
Yes.
at some point you have to make the decision.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. One other little thing is when this is all done, I need maybe 2 people to help me unload a bunch of beverages out of the back of my car. It'll take about 5 minutes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna say, I think having a little get together after each of these meetings is one of the best things that's happened. I think fellowship is the name of the game. I mean, I'm in charge of fellowship in our church, and I think that makes our church actually, you know, we have to get to know each other and be able to feel comfortable about saying things and so forth. And so I thank you all for making that possible. And I think this is the first time we've done that, I think. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Gail, she was thanking us for the
Yes,
socials.
social things, yes.
Well, the social committee, Tammy and Debbie Harris and Lynn and several others, so thank them, they've done a lot of work on this.
Yes.
And if you wanna help them,
Yes.
there's your contact. There's your contact.
And it's all about, so wear your favorite Hawaiian shirt or dress or skirt.
Miss Ruth's ready.
Yeah, yes.
We have some
Whatever.
good door prizes, y'all. I mean, some good ones.
Any other questions? All right, one more comment real quick. Don't forget to pave the way brick challenge. Beautification's doing it. If you want to get your name, your family's name on a brick, we're gonna work through this area going toward the tennis courts. It's a work in progress. It's gonna be a brick paper path at some point that you can be an original plank holder, buy brick, support GSB, support beautification, and you have your name and infamy.
And then Robert, did you wanna present your questions while everyone's here, or did you want separate time?
No, it's a separate time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Any new
Thank y'all
owners
so
that want to
much.
say hi and welcome?
We have Robert Lynch in here who's gonna present, in the email, you'll have the agenda.
Okay.
Still wait just a second and let everybody,
Y'all good?
unless y'all wanna stay, y'all.
Yeah, I wanted some new owners to introduce themselves so we can kind of get know everybody.
Yes, my husband already, but I'm Valerie, new owner, we purchased May 30th, in building 3.
Yeah. You're in for some fun tonight. Oh, well, y'all said y'all had to leave though. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, we'll do one in December.
It's a great.
It might be,
Yeah.
it might be
Yeah.
chilly some y'all, I don't know.
I do have one question, though. I heard you say something about 21 years of age.
From Memorial Day to Labor Day.
So the difference, so it's 25 because legally you have to be 25 years old to sign a legal document, is that why it's 25?
No, 21 is like the drinking
So-
age pool.
How that came
Yeah.
about was several owners decided they wanted to make the East Pool adult only. We had a lot of pushback from 80% of the association. We put out a survey, 80% of the association was like, we got problems with this. It became one of those things that was at every meeting, somebody was like, so when you have difference of opinion, like Ms. Ruth said, getting together and talking about it, finding out what works the best for everybody, so everybody has a part in our shareholder, because we all pay the same bill, right?
We do, well, this is our place. So it is the belonging of the association's job. And so that was what was come to, was from Labor Day to Memorial Day, that period there is over 21. That's for, yes, over
For
21,
the East
because they
For the
can
East Pool.
get here and they can get the West Pool. And I will say there's other issues potentially, but I'm gonna not
So
download.
is it from
I'm not
September
gonna
to
go
May
there.
or May to September?
Yeah, Memorial Day to Labor
Memorial
Day.
Day to Labor Day, there's signage, it's in our
Yes.
rules and regulation update that we just did today.
Right.
As
Um,
for the, so to
That's
rent-
just that small East Pool.
Just the pool, so to rent, because did I read somewhere that said you had to be 25 years or older to rent on this property?
No, I think that's a contract thing with different,
Different.
manage-
Because my
management
Airbnb
companies.
ambassador said that has to be 25 years and older to rent Airbnb, because now you have to be 25. to
That's an
sign the
Airbnb
contract.
rule, not an
So I've
association
never,
rule.
like,
And Airbnb is gonna give you a lot of rules, and they will kick you out if you don't follow those rules. So that's what I'm saying. You're answering to multiple chiefs, okay?
Yeah.
So, and that's what's unfortunate,
so if
because
you're married and you're under 25 and you're married or in the military. you
absolutely.
can't-
That's
you
why
cannot rent.
Some people
Welcome to
go
rules.
outside of
Yep,
Airbnb.
kinda crazy.
I'm not telling you how to rent your property, just saying it's your property. And some people don't use just Airbnb because for bookings, just something to think about. You know, there's, facility, like property managers that do that, where you can self-manage yourself and kind of create something. But if you self-manage and you take in any money, you have to file those taxes. You have to have a tax ID. You have to have a license to accept that money outside of that. Airbnb handles that for you, but in the state of Alabama, you have to submit that to, they want their money. And they're gonna come after you if you don't give them your money. So, and if you need any further, I'll be glad to help us out. But it's hard when you become a new owner, because you're like, there's so much things to think about that we don't always know.
The good thing is Airbnb and VRBO pay your taxes now, so you actually don't have
So,
to file.
I knew
it.
Airbnb paid her taxes. I was told that VRBO does not.
VRBO doesn't anymore.